Hello and a very warm welcome to the very new episode of the Zero Filter podcast. Today we have with us a very interesting personality, Krishna Priya, who is primarily from a chemical engineering background, but has been working in the product management part for the past 10 years, around 10 years. Now, Krishna Priya has been through a very interesting journey, which is mainly working in the AI domain, a conversation which most of us need at this point of time, wherein we need to know which AI tools we need to be mastering, how do we adapt to AI technology, what exactly are the things that we need to be aware of if we want to stay relevant in the job domain, in the job market. So, Krishna Priya, a very warm welcome to you to our episode of Zero Filter podcast. Krishna Priya, before we start with this conversation, we have a lot of questions for you, a lot of insights we would like to get from you on different things. Could you please share a bit about your journey of how you entered into this domain of tech part despite having a non-tech background? A bit about you, please.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Prince. It's an absolute honor. So, I guess it's best to be super authentic and tell you exactly what happened. And I don't have any stories to share that are very um, traditional. So, although if you look at my resume, you'll see the standard recipe: good school, good college, and then MBA, and then product management. But my journey was anything but traditional. So actually, I had two eccentric parents who gave up a brilliant scientific career to settle in a remote rural village in southern India. And when I say remote, like no internet, like I don't think it even had cell phone reception for a very long time, right? Until I grew up to be in high school, there was no cell phone reception, so we had to use antennas and things like that. Given that background, I was naturally interested in science, and I was interested in building things. I like to build things with my own hands. And then noticing that tendency, my parents say, "Why don't you become a mechanical engineer?" But that's what they do. All they do is build things, right? I said, "Okay, TK, I'll be a scientist or a mechanical engineer." That's all I did. So like a dutiful kid, I studied. I got my marks. So then I got into a good college. The advice at that time, we're talking 2012, before ChatGPT, before AI. So the advice I got at that time was pick the best college that your engineering ranking allows for. So I did that. But unfortunately, mechanical was not available. So my ranking was in big chemical, which was the next closest thing in principle to mechanical. I mentioned this because it wasn't a conscious choice. It's very easy to BS people into thinking, अच्छा मैंने सब सोच के रखा था तो यही लिया. नहीं, ऐसे नहीं हुआ था. That was what was available and I took it. So ऐसी थी. And then during my chemical engineering degree, I was more interested in the chemistry and physics of it rather than the actual chemical engineering. जो होता है लोगों को लगता है people hesitate from taking chemical engineering क्योंकि they're afraid of chemistry. But surprisingly, it's a lot of physics, it's a lot of application. It is, if it's the simplest way I can put it is, आप घर पे चाय बनाते हो 15 ml. How do you make it like 1.5 tons of chai? It's chemical engineering, basically scaling up the reactions that happen at a small scale to a high scale in a sentence. So वो चीज़ था. यही करते करते I got into a simple project on submersible pump sets. This was an interesting choice because I was in one of the best colleges that my state offered. Um, and everybody had a plan. Everybody knew exactly what to do. Like they had their seats in the US, they'd written their GRE examinations, and they were ready to fly. Come the third semester, people had seats and admission offers ready. And in my class of 40 people, people were sorted. Either they had a job offer or they had an offer to do masters in the United States. And as an 18-year-old, 20-year-old looking at others, the peer pressure really gets in. I was the only kid who was like, nahi, main khud se kuch karungi, I do something on myself. Right? I did have a seat. मेरे पास भी सीट था, न्यूयॉर्क यूनिवर्सिटी का एक सीट था, उसके ऊपर स्कॉलरशिप भी था. So the kindness of my parents was very high. They trusted me and said, ठीक है, if you don't believe in it, मत जाओ. Don't go just for the sake of pleasing us. तेरी career होगा, don't go. So I did not go. So for the next 1 year, I experimented with startups and research institutes. पहले मैं एक research institute, Indian Institute of Science करके बैंगलोर में है. Uthar, my father knew some people there, so he got me into a lab. Of course, I went in by influence. And then there I was working on submersible pump sets. तो ये काम देख के, when I was working on those pump sets, strangely a startup noticed me, जो कोरमंगला में थी in Bangalore. And they were into credit analysis. So उनका, of course, I'm not an expert on credit analysis, but what I was good at was picking up frauds. So when people apply for a credit card, वो झूठ बोलते हैं लोग. तो my job was to find out उनकी bank statements analyze करके what was anomalies. And I did not like the software app that they were using to build it. So I would go to the product manager who was in charge of the app and then keep complaining कि ये feature ठीक नहीं है, आप ऐसे बनाओ, this wasn't right, ऐसे. At this time, I had no idea that a product management field existed, or no, I just knew about project managers, जो projects को संभालते, who make sure that projects happen on time, but I had no idea product managers exist. So this person who was responsible got so sick and tired of me and said, fine, you know what, you do it. तुझे बना लेता हूँ, तू कर ले. तुझे लगता है इतनी simple है ना? तो there he made me the associate product manager simply because मैं दिन में 4 बार I would go and bug him कि ये take करो, वो take. So that's how officially I got started in product management as a field. That's just like a brief intro of how I fell into it. But when I actually got the real application, like the rubber meets the road kind of situation, was again a funny story. I had met somebody online who was a very nice gentleman, very much into common interests, and that gentleman, we just had a coffee and he suggested, I know this investor who thinks a bit hatke like you, why don't you guys meet? And I met the investor. Again, random guy, coffee, another random person who turned out to be a big shot in his industry, and I had no idea. So I was like 21, 22. I go up to this Pitamaha of telecom and just blabber my ideas. He liked my enthusiasm and he said, you know what, come, let's build an app.
Amen.
So, तो programming भी नहीं आती है, I don't know anything. So it's okay, हम developer hire कर देंगे. So he hired a developer, and before you know it, दिन में 14 घंटा, 12 घंटा, I used to spend my day there without pay, just burning my savings. And my parents were like, क्या हो रहे थे साथ? You gave up your seat and to a stranger, you're working in an office. You have no commitment, you have nothing. And this continued for 3 months, 6 months. And we finally released a fully functional mobile application, which was a cross between Twitter, sorry, अभी X बोलते हैं इसको. So which was a cross between X and Meetup. तो आपको real time किसी से मिलनी थी, तो you can tweet and meet people. और WhatsApp का सारी फीचर्स भी उसमें थे. तो बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स और अच्छा वाला आप हमने बिल्ड किया. And of course, marketing ठीक से नहीं किया, and my own discipline was not the best. So the app did not take off, but that was the first project that taught me completely on how to take an idea, जो napkin में होता है, into a complete, fully functional piece of software.
Yeah.
And what people usually learn in a few years, I was able to learn in a couple of months with that, working with this amazing gentleman who is still a friend and a mentor. So I was very grateful that early in my career, I was able to work with the very best. And that is something I would kind of pass on to anybody who's interested in having a career in product management. Ki, please work with the absolute best in the field that you can possibly, as early in your career as possible. And that sets good practices for you, that sets up a work ethic for you, and that gives you something that most people are unable to define, and we'll talk more about it later, is something called taste. I have no idea how to define it. Artists, designers, builders, everybody has this thing called taste, and it's very vaguely defined, and I hate that it's vaguely defined, but it is that that internal compass of feeling that gives you this sense of this is a good product. It is now ready for users. It is now solving the problem. And that comes with practice, nothing else. So I'll conclude that. Maybe we can get into the journey of going to Canada and all of that later. But startups was how I got into product management.
So you mentioned a very interesting thing, Trisha Priya, that having a mentor played a very important role in shaping what you are doing today. काफी बार क्या होता है कि what we have a perception in our mind is usually कि we will get into a field, हम किसी field को पहले choose करेंगे, उसके बाद we will be learning on the spot while being in the job, and हम ज़्यादा importance देते नहीं है in finding out the right mentor who can help us in probably some guidance or helping us shape what we really want in our lives. So what would you suggest uh, as the rule of let's say, since you have been in this journey already, एक mentor का कितना role होता है in identifying first of all what you would like to do, and how can somebody find a mentor, and most importantly how to find the right mentor? uh, like if you can share your thoughts on this.
I think the question you asked is so perceptive. It can shape the career of people if they really take it seriously, right? So even in our Indian philosophy, they talk about this thing called guru, right? A mentor is somebody who is not just giving you, again, this is my definition and my experience. This may not be the only way to go about it. So just as a full disclosure, I've had about approximately 10 years in product management. And in that time frame, I've had close to 12 or 15 mentors from all parts of the world, India, globally, everywhere else, right? And these mentors were absolute strangers when they started. They had no prior relationship with me. And I'm saying that because this is the generation of human beings to be. They owe me nothing. It's literally somebody on the street kind of thing. I had zero background and very little to offer them. Mentorship, and I am very sure आपकी field में भी mentorship होता है. The only driver for people emotionally as a mentor is the satisfaction you get out of taking somebody from A to B when they're stuck, and then you take them from A to B. So that said, how would you find the mentor, right? So if you're lucky and fortunate, sometimes it might happen accidentally that आपकी workplace में या in your connections or जान पहचान वाले, they you might just fall into a mentor. But before you sort of nail in on a person, right? I have a personal criteria that I've developed over time that I use to select a mentor. Ek thing about it's very helpful to write down your criteria, not to keep it in your head, to write it down and to see it. When you write down things, there's a distance between what you've written and yourself, and you can actually edit it. In your mind, it's tough to edit. So when I write down the criteria for the mentor I want to pick, right, it'll be 3 simple things. First is what's their do-say ratio? And this is true for all professions, I would say. Do-say ratio in the sense, you do what you say and you say what you do. Basically, their integrity. How good is their integrity? Because I am the sort of mentee who will move heaven and earth to do what my mentor has said. I will, if they say it's raining and it's sunny outside, I'll go put a pipe on the window and make it rain. I don't care. So that is the sort of faith and conviction I'll put in my mentor and trust that I don't care, you know more than me. I'm going to trust you and see how it works, right? So I expect the same from them. If they tell me, for instance, in product management, you have to do things modularly, manage your time, and they're late for meetings, that's a clear signal for me that they're not preaching what they are, practicing what they're preaching. So absolutely, I will stay away from such people. Of course, we are human beings, but I have a very high standard. 9 on 10 times, if they're able to have integrity, that's a good signal. So that's the first screener I would use. The second is I would select multiple mentors, people who are right by me, like, my peers, a peer mentor who is more or less at the same level, experience, pay grade, and all of that. And then somebody slightly higher, about 3 to 5 years higher. And then somebody who's an industry expert, जिसके पास 10-20 साल की experience है जो industry को, not 10, I'm sorry, let's say 20-30 साल का. They're probably in their 50s or 60s and जिसको subject matter expert माना जाता है. And they have conquered, they've seen it all, they've done it all. Director या कुछ CEO level पे वो they are operating, right? So 3 levels के mentors choose करती हूँ. Because the people at the very top have forgotten what it's like to start, and the people at the very bottom have forgotten or even have no idea what it's like to be at the top. So, तीनों सलाह you will end up needing. The last criteria I have is how much freedom and courage they have to tell me what they need to say.
Yeah.
If you have a person who doesn't have the freedom or the courage to tell you what you need to hear at the appropriate time, क्योंकि mentor की सबसे बड़ा काम होती है to look at you at a higher standard than you look at yourself. To keep you at a higher standard, right? तो आपको upgrade करते रहे जिंदगी भर. If they are shy, embarrassed, and too polite, like, Krishna, shayad you shouldn't have done that feature. If they are very hesitant, like, then काम नहीं होगा बस. They have to tell me out your face, no, you are arrogant, तूने ये किया, don't do that. ठीक है. तो वो 3 filters choose करती हूँ. And then I put a score कि 1 to 5 पे कितने में अच्छे होते हैं. Anything else, I am personally not bothered, but I'm sharing this so that people make their own metric. You make what is important to you, 2-3 characteristics, and score the people. Once you have that score, you start absolutely hunting for a mentor. There is no other word. And when I look in the Indian ecosystem, it really pains me to see that some of the best product managers have a TopMate link on their it's very embarrassing that they charge, 1,000 rupiah, 500 rupees, whatever. And I have paid also to listen to Indian product mentors. And when I talk to them, the fault is on both sides. The mentees have abused their time so much, ki book kiya at times Sunday, Saturday, not shown up late, not done the work, ki they had to put a literal monetary filter to make sure that the people were serious jo approach kar rahe the. So while I feel bad that there is a money barrier and there is a sort of expectation कि मैंने पैसा pay किया, that shouldn't be there. There should be mutual respect, in my opinion, for mentorship. So anyway, that is my opinion. But you can find mentors on sites like TopMate. You can go to LinkedIn, look at the field that you are interested in, type that, just see how active they are, and then approach them with a helpful message and show your curiosity. It takes time, and the ratio is usually 1:4. For every 4 reach outs you make, 1 person may reply. And again, their response and your response, that dynamic itself is a good signal if it's a good match. And a game of trial and error until you find the right person. I would say.
And I think once you find the right person, you need to have the conviction to follow what they are saying.
Absolutely.
There should be no, doubts or let's say a second thought that, okay, what my mentor is saying might be, not good.
It could be your personal way of approaching it. I'm not saying my approach is the best, right? You might be the sort of person who would be like, TK, my mentor said this.
Right.
I will do 50% of what they've said. Check progress. If it's going in the direction I want, TK. You can be a cautious person. I'm not that cautious when it comes to my mentors because over the years we have developed that trust and bond.
Yep.
They say, chalo, chilies खा लो, मैं chilies खा लेती हूँ.
Okay. And Krishna Priya, I think you since have been into this tech domain. आजकल AI के बारे में everybody is talking about AI. Some people are saying it is a bubble. Some people are saying by 2030, by 2035, बहुत सारे jobs will be lost. AI will be replacing many professionals. What do you have to say about this? Like, is this whole AI part, is it a bubble? Is it something real that is going on? If yes, what exactly is the thing which people should be aware of in the current, developments?
If we go back even a couple of years, right, 2022, 21, there wasn't such a huge, I mean, not such a uproar about AI. Things changed for the irreversible way once Sam Altman kind of announced ChatGPT in 22, I assume, right? What I want to kind of outline this topic by saying is AI is not something new. It's been there for 60, 70 years, right? In the 1960s, the term artificial intelligence was coined by 5 people in a conference, some of the best statisticians.
Hmm.
Basically, machine learning, or that's what it was called then, was the ability for machines to do computations. But what happened with time is the machines or the computers so far just got better and better and better and better at calculating, and the speed increased exponentially. But recently, we are hearing all this mumbo jumbo about LLMs, RAGs, and this. I mean, I can't even keep up with the jargons that keep coming in every other week. That somebody optimized this, that, and all of that. That happened because they had a breakthrough in AI, and they were able to start off a new part of AI called generative AI, where the AI had the ability to, I would say, reasoning is a word that I use with a lot of fear, because AI is technically not thinking, but it is guessing. That is probably a better way to say it. So much of whatever we are seeing today, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, all those fancy text things that you're seeing, and then of course the amazing images that we are using for video generation, audio generation, all of this is just very, very intelligent probabilistic guessing. The AI has been fed an amount of data that you cannot imagine, you and I, petabytes of data. I mean, you're thinking huge skyscraper high amount of books piled cities and cities amount of data, right? Everything that the world had has been fed into it. And the model has been trained so much that if you give it a sentence, it's able to say, I am hungry and I am going to. And then it'll have a choice between 5, 6 words. And the likeliest and the most obvious probabilistic choice is to say eat, because hungry and eat have been used in many contexts many times. And it matches that probability and then fills the sentence and says eat. But when you and I just go into ChatGPT, it looks magical, right? Like we can ask it questions, we can do all sorts of stuff. So that's kind of like a brief outline about what happened and how AI is shaping today. And now, in terms of where it's going, honestly, I'm not sitting in the seats in Silicon Valley to give you an opinion on it. But there are many angles you can take and look at it as an individual, right? As an individual, if I need to look at it. The first angle I would examine it is practicality. I have a subscription for Claude and I pay about $25 for it per month. And I'm scared that I pay $25. It's terrifying for me because the value it provides for me is probably $2,000, $20,000. But I pay 25 and it's disproportionate, the value it's providing for me in my personal, the time it's saving for me. It's almost like कोई डॉक्टर आपका जान बचा लिया और आप उनको बस एक फ्लाई किस दे रहे हो कि thank you. It doesn't track at all. So with that disproportionate value, how long are they able to sustain this business model? Ki millions of users have, and you're charging them pennies for the value they are deriving out of their product. And right now, I mean, I'm not an investor, but as far as I can see, I haven't seen a AI company which is running these models declare that they are profitable and sustainable yet. Mostly running on investments, right? Now, even if they are, and let's assume cost scale karenge, they're business geniuses there. I mean, we can't even think about how brilliant they are. Suppose they settle all the economics of it. There is still the sustainability aspect of it. People are trying really hard to hide this, but if you I have a brother who's also into product management, and he keeps telling me and sending me videos of how data centers require a huge quantity of power and water to be kept alive. Like, हम सोच भी नहीं सकते. Hundreds of megawatts. India itself has about 137 or 140 data centers now and more planned. And US में आप YouTube इधर कुछ जाके you can look at videos of people showing you कि घर के टैप खोला तो उसमें मड आ रहा है पानी की वजह से उतनी ड्राई हो गई aquifers. Using it to cool the data centers that power AI, पूरी environment is suffering. Like the groundwater is getting depleted. And if you are a farming background professional or somebody who's done something, you'll understand कि groundwater is a non-renewable resource. It's not like sea का पानी की बहुत है. चला गया तो चला गया. You will have to, the only way that you will get groundwater back is to recharge it via rainwater. And it has taken millions of years for it to get in there. So it's scary. You'll have to abandon the city if you don't have water. And it's already happening, right? So there is that, the environmental aspect, the economic aspect, the environmental aspect. And the third thing that you need to understand is very few people are talking about it. One person is Meredith. She was the chief AI officer at Google for some time, and I think she quit, and now she's doing her own thing. There are some geniuses who are talking about it. These are not my opinions. Basically, what they say is human creativity is what is fueling AI right now. So if you look at ChatGPT, they used to, if you remember early versions of ChatGPT, they used to say it had data only up until 2022, 2023, whatever.
Okay.
So everything that happened in the world up until that time, it would know and remember. So they've given it everything they can possibly give. Like all the artists, all the music, all the content produced. So they're saying that what these people are not admitting is they've given it everything they possibly can, and they've exhausted the creative material that's available to train the model. जो लोग admit नहीं कर रहे, and some of the scientists are beginning to point that out कि आप क्या दोगी? राक्षस मुआ है तो क्या दोगी उसको? कि it has to be something new that the human mind needs to generate. चाहे art हो, music हो, writing हो, whatever it is, pictures हो, जो भी हो, जो आप model को train करना चाहते हैं, that has to be produced, and that can only be done via digitization and things like taking things that are not documented in the internet and pushing them into the model. So you will see that huge push for virtual devices now आगे, that I would recommend that it will happen. कि अभी चलो Google Glasses खरीद लो, something like that, because they need data from real life and they're, desperate for it. And you're already seeing signs of this. If you start looking at benchmarks and comparisons for different LLMs, ChatGPT, Claude, they're nearly the same level. Good चीजें they outperform, but it's very hard, at least for me, to look at it and tell कि chalo, this is 10% better. But what does that mean for me as a user? 10% better लेके मैं क्या करूँ? Why would I switch from 5 LLM to 4 LLM or 3 LLM? See, they're getting so good that they're starting to plateau a bit. And ये सारी चीज is to kind of stabilize the fear we have about AI. But then here we come to the scary part, जो लोगों को लगता है AI will take my job and whatever. Is that right? So I will speak specifically to the accounting and finance industry जिसमें मैं part हूँ, and I have a very little part in that. तो I work for a company जो हजारों accountants के लिए software बनाती है. And we are in the middle of an AI sort of revolution in the company. There were some C-level changes and we had some new executives come up. So जो अभी नए आए, they have recognized the need for just pushing AI down the throat. So we are using AI for efficiency. But there is also the challenge कि accountants are the kind of people जो आप conference में जाते हो तो if they select a seat, after a break they'll come back and sit in the same seat. I mean, it's very cute, but they're also very sort of, as a person, again, I understand I'm generalizing, I'm not saying every accountant is like, they're kind of resistant to change. And it works. They are great at systems and processes. they can spot numbers, they can spot patterns, and they're fantastic people. I can't imagine staring at an Excel sheet for 10 hours a day. They'll do it with joy. And when they find a break, I've seen them rejoicing. कि, "लो भाई, नहीं गया." That kind of discipline and that kind of work ethic requires those quirks and those personality where you're focused and you're like this. And I say this with a lot of respect and love, but that also kind of prevents them from adopting something new into their workflow easily.
Right.
When suddenly a chatbot all the AI come, they won't even click and look at it. क्या they'll in fact consider it an annoyance queues code, they try to get rid of it and we get my work done first, right? So how do you build for users like this? And you know, as an industry that is resistant to change, as an industry that is also very at least in Canada, they still use pen and paper very much to file things, right? And you have to start introducing change in a way that they see the value immediately.
Right.
They're smart people, right? They're very smart people. That said, accounting has not yet adopted AI to the degree that I personally would love to see. If you see in law, for instance, things like Harvey AI is coming. They have managed to eat up the industry. There's no other word. In 6 to 8 months, they grabbed so much market share. There is such rapid adoption that they use it to generate reports, they use it to ask questions, do research. It's basically like having a paralegal who works for you 24/7. So it's just remarkable what they've done. That sort of innovation, um, I'm so sorry. Okay, you'll have to edit that out. My bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that sort of innovation you've not seen in the accounting industry yet. We are seeing bits and pieces. We are seeing slow adaptation on solvency, and in other things, there be some rapid adoption. So I can give you examples if there are accountants listening to this on how it's happening, or go into a direction where you think it appropriate. So
I think you shared a very interesting insight that, for example, legal profession has adapted or probably is undergoing a huge change in comparison with accounting or finance because, like, I train mainly on finance subjects, so I could see that AI is not yet capable of generating fully fledged financial models. For example, with proper management of linking of the cells and then coming up with the summaries and all that. It can do financial analysis to an extent, but yeah, I think it is not yet smart enough wherein it can replace person who is an experienced financial modeler. Or recently, for example, a case came wherein Deloitte was charged fine because of AI report. And yeah, so do you think there's a gap between what the accounting profession needs in terms of the capability of AI as a tool, or is it the other way around? Is it like there's lack of adaptability or proper management of uh, AI to whatever it could be, any AI tool or a set of tools that could be used in accounting or finance?
Alright. So again, a very broad and interesting question. I will have to narrow it because my scope and knowledge is limited. The first thing I'll clarify is I don't know much about finance. For instance, if you go into the trading and those kind of things, there is rapid adoption of AI. Like it scares me how accurate it is, right? I mean, you and I can just test it out. We can go just take a screenshot of some chart and give it to ChatGPT or something like that and ask it to analyze the chart. It'll give you a fairly accurate prediction. I'm not saying start putting money there, but what they say, and then you hear some Ajtak or whatever and some financial expert saying, it matches up. And it's scary, right? Like, oh my God, this machine is able to predict 80-90% of what a human expert is saying. So finance, I don't know that industry. Possibly that's happening there. And it's so vast a question, so no comments there. I'm only speaking specific to accounting and audits. And when we say AI, it's such a scary word. It's like saying Indian khana. India में तो 29 states say, and every state few kilometers you have different food. AI itself, let's just tell the viewers कि अभी when we speak about AI, we are talking about LLMs, simple things that generate text or video or photo, generative AI, those kind of narrow applications, jo without knowing programming much, you're able to use it. That will be the criteria that we filter. You don't have to be a developer. You can just use plain English and talk to it and get some output that you need, audio, video, photo, text, document, jo bhi hai. The second thing that you pointed out, ki the gap in the accounting industry, right? And this is something that I feel my credentials or my whatever that I've done in my life does not back up my opinion. But if I was an EVP or a CEO of a company, it would carry more weight. But I think it will eventually come to light that lots of companies who are claiming to solve problems for or using AI in the accounting industry haven't exactly nailed it. Why do I say that? Because it comes to solving a problem ultimately, and AI is a tool, right? Whether internet, phone, jo bhi hai, it's a tool. You have a problem, you need a tool to solve it. Now, AI is the shiniest, fanciest tool available to solve the problem, and investors are interested, CEOs are interested. There is a lot of push from different corners of the world to use this tool. It's the new gold rush. And what it can do is also magical. But वो जो बोलते हैं ना, जब हथौड़ा होता है, everything looks like a nail kind of thing. So that sort of situation is happening, and I'll speak to some specific examples, right? So in my company, I'll have to speak at high level and not sort of give away too much. An accountant, an average accountant, is in whatever 2 years that I've spent in the industry, I understood that they care about efficiency a lot. They want to get done things super fast and super, efficiently, so that and there are multiple people working on a project. It's not like कि, एक बंदा कर दिया हो गया. There is a reviewer, there is a preparer, there is lots of eyes on the same project, lots of opinions, lots of thoughts, and lots of work goes in, and we underestimate how much effort is put into making a financial statement. तो जब ये होती है, what are the problems that you can solve? You ask that. Instead of asking that question, a lot of people are just throwing solutions. So, for example, a solution that was thrown, I won't name the person or place, but it is the most obvious low hanging fruit that they could throw this solution was to put a chatbot. Chalo, chat lगा देते. And what was the point of that? Like, what problem was it chatbot solving? Nobody could really answer that, right? And this is not the case for a particular company. Most companies are doing this. They take the lowest hanging fruit and they try to convince you कि ये problem solve कर देगी. But are accountants actually using it? When you see the data, when you see the adoption, when you see the reviews, nobody's saying, yaar, this is the, like, कर लो ये. Nobody's raving about it. Nobody's recommending it to another person. If you like a movie or a restaurant, you strongly recommend it to your friend, right? Like, जाओ तुम कांतारा देख के आओ, मस्त है भाई. You'll say that. But nobody's saying that about the tools that are being deployed for accounting, at least in what I know. What is working is simple automation. What is working is as simple as clean data, clean outputs. Customization is something that is still very important to accountants. Like उनके logo डालना, उनकी formatting डालना, ये चीज़ डालना. Human input and review is absolutely necessary at this point. No model, no accurate prediction has been evolved to a point where you can cut the human out of the loop. There are numbers and lives at stake. किसी का जान जाएगी if you give the wrong number sometimes in accounting. Not even healthcare में किधर भी आप गलत prediction या budget दिया तो somebody will lose a life because of that, right? Planning by. So just throwing a solution is not going to work. If there are gaps, then the gaps are in humans, actually product managers like me and others there, actually doing the hard work and understanding कि accounting की problem क्या है. What is it that the user needs? And जिसके लिए is AI the right tool? शायद नहीं. we should have the, in my opinion, the humility to accept that sometimes AI is not the right tool. Maybe an automation, maybe the better built feature that will address the problem. Maybe UI का problem होगी शायद. We have built a very crappy UI. Workflow गंदा होगा. So just stuffing AI to look fancy will not work. But that said, if anybody listening here has had some successful applications of AI, I would be super interested. Please feel free to connect with me. I have seen firms using AI to reduce hours in terms of generating a report, fact checking, graphs, and things like that. But those are small efficiency wins जिसको standardize ना कर पाए as a product. These are things that they use to just, as a daily ad hoc workflow sort of situation. But I'm yet to come across a tool that people are raving about. कि, भाई, this is the thing. So
And does it seem likely, ऐसा लगता है कि in the future या a few years down the line ऐसा कुछ होने वाला है in the accounting profession कि ऐसे कुछ tools आएंगे that have the ability of replacing human judgment to a significant extent?
So that part, I feel it's very delicate for me to compliment on because I don't have an accountant's training. In fact, आपको हंसी आएगा when I reveal कि I'm the last person who should be doing accounting. मैंने जब accounting लिया था in my undergraduate, sorry, not in my University of Waterloo, my professor will have a heart attack if he understands I'm in an accounting field and talking to the foremost experts on accounting because I failed in my accounting paper. I was a shitty student in accounting, right? Forgive my language, but I really didn't understand how to balance numbers. It never made sense to me. So it will be wrong for me to empathize for a field that I neither have the training or the experience to. But what I will confidently say is you will not be replaced by AI completely, but you may be replaced by a person who is using AI completely, right? Who has integrated AI into their workflow to triple their productivity. So absolutely treat it as something with urgency and immediacy that you need to pick up on. It's evolving at a pace that 6 mahine pehle what we thought couldn't happen is happening. And this isn't my invitation to be like, chalo $1,000 ka course le lo and learn it from something. No. Start small, make your own groups, find people who are interested in learning AI and things like that. Different sectors and solve a little problem, tiny problem. It could just be ki, I want a logo for my firm. Create it using AI, right? Like, or I want to check this number if it's correct, or if this scheduling is right, or if this report can be jumped. You'll learn more by solving a problem for yourself or your company than you will by watching hundreds of videos or gurus talking about it. Because honestly, nobody knows what's coming the next 12 months unless I'm Sam Altman or somebody in Silicon Valley with all the resources available to me. And even then, it's such a complex world with legislation, the real world limitations that we cannot guess.
And you talked about AI training that, ऐसा नहीं है कि that you need to buy $1,000 का course to learn about AI. What would you suggest to somebody जिसको AI के बारे में, they have a broad idea that, you can generate images and all that. लेकिन how to, build that AI literacy? If you can suggest how can somebody जो बिल्कुल ही AI से related, नया perception है जिसका, they don't know a lot about it, वो कैसे AI literacy build कर सकते हैं? Any 3 tools that you would suggest to anybody to start with?
Absolutely great question. And again, I'll be honest, 6 months ago, I didn't give a crap about AI this much as I do now, right? I personally was theoretical myself, not dipping too much and watching from the sidelines, not jumping in. Today, I have multiple projects running and I actively experiment every other week with a new problem to solve. That shift happens within you internally when you recognize that it's a tool worth learning just for the sake of learning, and it's the direction the world is moving, whether we like it or not. So once you have that intrinsic motivation, which sounds very woo woo, I understand, because when things get hard and when you don't know what to do and when you can't figure out, that now North Star that you have, that bigger goal that you have is what will hold on and what will keep you on the path. Because it's not easy, right? When you open LinkedIn, when you open Google, YouTube, you will see thousands of gurus who will say they have made millions of dollars, and they'll teach you how to do it. Just buy my course or whatever. And there's nothing wrong, right? Everybody needs to make a living, and I get it.
And they are becoming millionaires by selling those courses.
Yeah, exactly as you say, that when the gold rush happens, the people who make the most money are who sell the shawls, right? So people are selling shawls everywhere, and some of the most respected minds in product management are also selling shawls, and that's fine. I personally also mentor and coach people and charge money for my time. But when you go to a guru or a course or an expert, they are chartering the path for you. They are telling you that this is the path you need to take. And if that's how your learning style works, fantastic. I mean, go for it, experiment it. But I'm suggesting an alternate way, a way that is worked for me, Mom, doctor, is to just pick a problem. To start with being extremely curious about a problem that bothers you and to commit to solving it. Any problem, right? Pick a problem in your personal life, in your work life, or talk to a friend that you care about and your partner and get a problem. And then it's your job to qualify the problem. When I mean qualify is to give it a rating and a grading to see if it's worth something, right? I mean, I'm tired of gravity. I won't why, but we can't solve that problem. We can't get rid of gravity.
Yes.
So do that sanity check to qualify the problem, whether it's viable, whether it's frequent enough, and whether it's important enough for you to solve it personally. Once you have a couple of problems, 3 or 4 problems that you've screamed out and you're sure, right? Actually get your hands dirty and start looking at understanding the problem better, meeting more people who are experiencing the problem, or it's a personal problem, asking yourself clarifying questions. Now you start integrating AI into this process of problem discovery. So you can pick any LLM of your choice that you're starting out, it doesn't matter. And you need to treat it as an exact 5-year-old child who has no context and very low memory and attention span. So you can get started by understanding the basics of prompting. There are hundreds of videos on how to teach you to prompt. But the essence of that is to give it context. Why it needs to do what it needs to do. What is the nature of the output? What is the nature of the input? What good looks like, what bad looks like. And if it has, and here's the big hack that I've learned over the years, is to ask you any questions if it has questions before giving you an output. So a lot of the time, the LLM makes an assumption and doesn't tell you. So you can explicitly ask it to ask you questions and then proceed. So there are other things you need to learn, such as, okay, then LLM will do something called hallucination. It will confidently lie to you. ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, everything will confidently lie. So it's important for you to ask it to show you references, to go and verify the references, or we'll end up in a Deloitte situation, right? So these are the beginnings of starting to understand the problem. You can, in fact, use it as a thought partner, right? As somebody who is by you, a 5-year-old intern who's impatient, has low memory, but is very enthusiastic.
Right.
That's how I would summarize its capability right now. So if you're facing a problem, you can say, dear ChatGPT, give me 10 clarifying questions to deepen my understanding of the problem, so on and so forth. So you're basically doing classical product management, but you're enhancing it with AI. All the steps you would naturally do, now enhanced with AI. Which tool to use depends on the problem that you're trying to solve, right? An LLM can help you think, it can help you generate stuff. You can then move on to something called a no-code tool that helps you build an entire application. So there are many now. Full stack, an Indian one worth calling about is Emergent. They have recently received funding. So basically, you talk to it in plain English, and it will give you an entire web application. There is Lovable, there is Bold, so many tools that you can talk to and help building a solution. And you don't need more programming also. These are prototypes for you to envision what a solution looks like. Click through, take the users in this time, then get feedback, come alter it again. It's a beautiful process of going from a vague problem to a solution.
Hey,
You know a lot.
that
What tool to pick is entirely dependent on your experience and your needs for the problem. So
this sounds interesting. Like uh, every tool has its own ability of having the focus. Let's say if we talk about Perplexity, then probably for deep research, search all topics real time. Whereas if we talk about, let's say, Claude or ChatGPT, and they're basic LLMs helping you with solutions or brainstorming part. So it's like every now and then some updates come in Claude, that are not in ChatGPT, and then some updates come in ChatGPT that are not in Claude. So they both go hand in hand, and uh, you know what often happens is जब भी हम LLM के बारे में बात करते हैं, चैट जीपीटी के बारे में बात करते हैं, एक क्यूरियोसिटी जनरेट होती है माइंड में कि व्हाट इज एग्जैक्टली हैपनिंग at the back end कि ये tool is able to give so much good of a response कि मैंने कुछ लिखा I want a vegetarian recipe, let's say which belongs to South America, then it will help you with that. Or if you ask it a question जो आज तक कहीं भी नहीं पूछा गया था, but it will still help you with the answer, right? So it's like जो curiosity. For example, I can share my own example. A few days ago, I was walking on the roof of my home, and I clicked an image of two stars in the sky, and I put the image in Chat GPT along with the direction through the compass on my phone, and I asked it a question: what is the most likely possibility of these two stars being close to each other? या इनका distance कितना हो सकता है? Just a general question that arose in my mind, and I shared two screenshots. एक मेरा लोकेशन वाला पार्ट जिसमें कंपास से डायरेक्शन था, एंड आई गिव इट माय लोकेशन. इट आस्क्ड मी कि आप कौन से स्टेट में हो एंड व्हाट इज द टाइम राइट नाउ देयर, एंड I shared that image of two stars, and then it came up with a very good answer with a lot of calculations and all that. That most likely it is Saturn, and the other one which you are seeing is a star which is far away from this, probably many light years away. So I was like, curiosity wale questions jo earlier, like the mind had a lot of curiosity about things jo probably mind mein aate the, and then they used to get buried inside mind because there was no one to answer those questions. But nowadays, whatever question that arises in your mind, for example, ek baar aur I thought of let's say how many uh, people would a very popular political leader be able to see in his whole lifetime? So ChatGPT came up with average number of people in a rally, these many rallies in a month, and these many people he must have probably seen. So essay questions that usually come in the mind. Now this curiosity gets satisfied with these Gen AI valid tools. So the question which arises is, what is exactly happening at the back end? Matlab, it is so fascinating, it is so interesting. Sometimes me being from a non-tech, complete non-tech background, I kind of think like sometimes even it feels like as if somebody's sitting, at the back end and then doing all the calculation and then giving feedback. So can you give a basic idea of what exactly happens at the back end? How is it able to generate the response? And that too with the questions which probably never arose before. So ऐसा क्या होता है बैक एंड पे कि चैट जीपीटी या क्लाउड है सबका सब सॉल्यूशंस निकाल के दे सकता है? लाइक इफ यू कैन गिव एन आइडिया कि एलएलएम काम कैसे करता है.
Absolutely. एंड आपने जो पूछा बहुत ही profound question है जो शायद the people who created it also will answer with caution. आप Andrew Winch, the father of modern AI, बड़े बड़े लोग भी हैं. And again, I'm embarrassed to answer this question with the limited knowledge I have. I will try my best. Because even the foremost experts in the world, they're able to give you a loose definition. I'm yet to come across a person confidently saying कि A plus B equals C yahi hai. Like, nobody is able to give you a definitive answer on it. Because it depends on the depth we want to go into it in this answer. I'll simplify it and keep it high level. But I'll mention a few resources जो आप देख सकते हैं बाद में. One is a very interesting mathematician, Stanford mathematician, बहुत ही young बंदा है, 30 something, Grant Sanderson करके. He has a channel called 3 Blue 1 Brown. ठीक है? So it's a beautiful channel where you can look at some very, very complex mathematical topics that shape AI. Neural networks हो सकता है, models हो सकती है, vectors हो सकती है. And he has this ability to make beautiful 3D visualizations जो ये concepts को बहुत अच्छे से explain करती है. That is one resource I'll recommend. And of course, there are hundreds of other lectures and videos from experts. I'm saying that because what I'm going to give you is very high level. तो आई थिंक वी टच्ड अपॉन दिस कि दुनिया की सारी डेटा लेके एक मॉडल को दे दिया है. व्हेन आई से मॉडल, द वेरी क्रूड सेइंग इट इज लाइक आई डोंट नो द हिंदी वर्ड, छन्नी. द थिंग यू यूज टू फिल्टर फ्लोर या टी को फिल्टर करने के लिए. सो इट इज लाइक इमेजिन 5-6 छन्नी you can imagine if you add different types of chutneys. Imagine billions of such chutneys. So ऐसे उसको stack किया गया है. And then you can imagine कि वो चन्नी के पेरिफेरी में कुछ knobs हैं जिसको आप adjust करते हो कि चन्नी की filter का radius बदलती है, छोटा हो सकती है, shape बदल सकती है, angle बदल सकती है. So that is basically what a model. It's millions of such filters and parameters stacked together on certain criteria that huge mathematicians, statisticians have at some point decided कि ये criteria होनी चाहिए.
Yeah.
And there is a model for almost everything. Like you can't imagine कि इतने सारे model की qualities है. आपको, if you want to see a model yourself, you can go to this free open source website called Hugging Face, जहाँ very friendly tutorials भी हैं, जहाँ आप आपकी खुद की laptop free download any of these expensive models. जो आपको पता है ना कि पैसा पे करना पड़ता है for generating an image and all of that, or for like profile photos. वो आप सब fun projects खुद कर सकते हो using Hugging Face, or you can download it onto your laptop. So what I'm saying is these chutneys that have been arranged for, we can't even imagine the complexity ki kitni how complicated it is. They are only able to adjust the parameters a little bit until the output they expect is received. So suppose imagine it like a 5-year-old जिसको आप कुछ सिखा रहे हो and you want to tell them 1 + 1 is 2. तो पहली बार you show board and show them a card. This is 1, this is 1. Now 1 + 1 is 2. And the 5-year-old says, no, 1 + 1 is apple. मान नहीं रहा. So you show that card multiple times in multiple ways. Roman numerals में लिखोगी आप, हिंदी में लिखोगी, lighting डालोगी, ये करोगी, वो करोगी. You will vary the input in many ways and kind of do your best to give it the most high quality data you can to this 5-year-old. And eventually, if you repeat it enough number of times by varying enough parameters, that 5-year-old will learn and retain it. Ki 1 + 1 always means 2. It can never be 3, it can never be 5, it can never be anything else. 1 + 1 is always 2. I'm simplifying it. I know mathematical geniuses are thinking, अच्छा 1 power 0 हो तो नहीं, just think very simple. 1 + 1 is 2. वो सीख लेते हैं अच्छा. तो इसको मॉडल को ट्रेनिंग बोलते हैं. Imagine doing this for, like, if you put it in human terms, it's like the entire country of India training one 5-year-old person. So
Okay.
that is the density of training that happens. Millions of computational power. Supercomputers जैसा चीज, for years together they did that. And some of the best and brilliant minds in the world worked on it to fine tune it, to make it give the output that they want. Now once that the machine has learned कि ये pattern के लिए this is the output, it becomes a game of probability. आप ये check कर सकते. You can ask ChatGPT a simple question, right? Now it has exponentially improved, but even a couple of months ago it was still difficult. Ask a question such as something like, I don't know, write me a poem on my dog or something. Make it 3 lines. And ask that same question in different windows. एक window खोलिए, then one more window, one more window, one more chat window. Ask that same question 10 times and it will give you 10 different outputs. And even in that window where it remembers, जो वो chat window में उसको याद रहता है जितना भी उसका token का memory है context window की, you can ask the same question 20 times, 20 different responses will come.
Right.
A consistent response कभी नहीं आएगी. And you can test it with things like putting in a variable or saying, ठीक है, I have 2 dogs, this is their name, and then ask it to repeat it. And after it, the context window passes, the memory passes, the 5-year-old forgets. उसको याद नहीं रहता है. It will confidently give you wrong answers. So that just goes to show this is just statistics, pattern matching, probability, and using all of this to guess what might be the best possible word that comes after this word, after this word, and after this word, and then providing sentences. But it is done with such speed and accuracy कि when you and I look at it, it looks like magic. ये कुछ भी कर लेता है भाई. But that's exactly what's happening behind the screens. And even if you ask the best people, they will tell you that most of the models today are a black box. जो black box बोलते हैं ना कि airplane में मिलती है and they have no clue what's happening and we look at the black box. वो चीज़ है. I haven't met a person or heard of a person who is claiming they are able to understand what exactly goes through this millions of chimneys to give us this output. कि वो magical. It has come to that point and complexity, unfortunately. But that is like a 5-minute version for you.
And probably, even faster than the speed of light is the calculation which is happening at the back end. When they're like looking at the responses, solving complex mathematical problems just in a millisecond and getting the responses. And just that we need to learn how to prompt in the right way. I can share my own experience. For example, I asked ChatGPT to, you know, uh, uh, give me the summary of the draft of the book which I had written. तो मैंने उसमें upload किया and it was a broad draft kind of a thing and I asked it to give me the summary of each and every chapter. When it gave me the response, it was like a totally different story as compared to what I had written. It started hallucinating. मैंने कहा ये तो मैंने सब लिखा भी नहीं था. How did I get this? And it was like totally plot different था, characters अलग थे. I started thinking कहीं draft में मैंने तो कोई गड़बड़ नहीं कर दी. But when I looked at the draft again, it was like it was ChatGPT, which was hallucinating, creating a weird stuff instead of just going through that PDF. So I think a lot is still required to be done in this domain, wherein it can actually, assist or replace human judgment. Um, for example, अगर कोई author होगा, they are putting the draft in ChatGPT and asking that to come up with the final file and then publishing the book. उनको पता भी नहीं होगा book में लिखा क्या था, and it'll get.
Well said. It's very true. It's very true.
So
Please.
it probably happens ki we still need a lot of I think there are still lack of pinpointed trainings on how to prompt and do this and do that, because prompting seems to be like a very general kind of a term. ये सबको लगता है कि लिख के output ही तो लेना है. Everybody can do this. So do you think of it as a skill that has to be built with practice, or is it like a general thing? कोई भी कुछ भी input करे and then they can get the output?
आपने बहुत ही perceptive question पूछा है. अभी आप any job site if you go, you will see postings for 700K, 500K for payment yearly for prompt engineers. So it's a skill that people in all the big tech hubs are taking it seriously. And there is enough information, I would say, on the internet for you to learn prompting exactly how it should be done to get the most consistent output, right? So information है, But I guess there are other challenges that most people are not comfortable talking about, जो मैं surface पे लाना चाहती हूँ. एक चीज़ है कि of course you have to learn how to prompt, right? And why do you want to learn how to prompt? एक चीज़ है to have confidence in the answer कि वो कुछ hallucinate ना करे. दूसरी चीज़ है कि to get the most out of the machine, right? जितना चाहे उतना वैल्यू आप एक्सट्रैक्ट कर सकते हो टू लर्न दैट. एंड तीसरी चीज़ है कि यू हैव टू गेट कंसिस्टेंट आउटपुट्स. आपने एक बार एक रिपोर्ट जनरेट किया एंड दूसरी बार इट इज़ गिविंग यू वाइल्डली डिफरेंट आंसर विद अ डिफरेंट टोन. डजंट वर्क. होपफुली यू हैव टू गेट कंसिस्टेंट आंसर्स लाइक अ ह्यूमन बीइंग वुड, राइट? एक बार आपको हेलो बोला, दूसरी बार दूसरी तरफ चला गया. डजंट वर्क. So those I would say are 3 criteria. There might be more. Prompting, good structured prompting allows you to do that. But the thing that most people don't talk about is this gray line of, uh, I don't have the perfect word for it, but I'm going to call it ethics. जो एक धर्म होती है for the person building the prompt and the person who is making these LLMs. Now, वो ethics cross नहीं करनी होती है. I will give you the simplest example of this. There are people, including myself initially, when I didn't understand how it worked, कि personal information डाल दिया था ChatGPT. And I didn't realize how serious this was at all. Until I used something of a friend and they were really angry that I used it, and that person was very learned and वो lawyer थी. And I did that mistake earlier this year and I was like, yeah, it was a anonymous chat. ChatGPT doesn't do anything. बहुत naive था इसके बारे में. But then when I got into it and I read the terms and agreements, in fact, California में एक bill pass हुआ है that even if you say it's a temporary chat, no data by law can be deleted. So आपने डाल दिया, it is there permanently. And now it's also indexable by search engines.
Okay.
You have to go and manually disable that or buy an enterprise plan and make sure that, pro plan where you say, please don't use my data to train your models. Now, why is this important? Because there have been so many cases jahan pe people were able to inject the right prompts and get personal data somebody had added. Logon ka phone numbers, telephones, address, photos, images, audio, जो भी निकालने लगे randomly, some person sitting somewhere can get your data. वो पहली चीज़ है कि सेफ्टी की बात है. दूसरी बात है कि we don't know what they're going to do with the models. चाहे इंस्टाग्राम हो, फेसबुक हो, आपकी चेहरा हो, आपकी जो आइडेंटिटी है, जो हमारा मेरा, आई हैव नो आइडिया इफ माय फेस. आपको याद है 1-2 साल पहले देयर वाज दिस एजिंग ऐप जो ट्रेंड हो रहा था, लोग फोटो खींच के खुद को रहे थे. जी, जी, जी. दैट इज़ अ वेरी फेमस एग्जांपल जहाँ पे उनके परमिशन के बिना दे वर यूजिंग इट टू ट्रेन मॉडल्स, फोटोज. सो इमेजिन 10 साल के बाद somebody without my consent can take my face and use it in an advertisement for a product that I don't support. चाहे सिगरेट लगा सकते हैं. I don't smoke, but मेरी चेहरा सिगरेट की ad पे है. ये क्या बात है? So it's a very, very possible scary future. I would absolutely caution people to understand AI enough कि you don't have your information misused or you don't accidentally or unwillingly misuse other people's information क्योंकि once it's there on the internet it's there forever. वो मुझे I had to learn it in a very hard bad way and I don't want other people to go through the same, so that is a caution I would add through. The second thing that we need to understand is these things are not in our control. None of these systems are made in India. None of this की हमारी मिट्टी पे है. So they are somewhere sitting in US or China or wherever कि ये algorithms, ये models, ये सब बन रहा है. तो at some point we need to understand from a nationalistic viewpoint कि if tomorrow they decide to pinch the nerve on this, if we have built businesses, if we have built systems and we are reliant on it, we are screwed. There is no sugarcoating it. They control the source. जैसे कि पानी का नल उनके पास है. They can shut it off anytime they want. So over reliance on it and outsourcing your critical thinking to a model And if you do it enough number of times, आप अभी right now in the past few years there are very reputed universities putting up papers talking about how there is a cognitive decline. 43% recall कम हो जाती है. Your critical thinking starts reducing. And you become so reliant कि ये addiction बन जाती है कि ChatGPT से पूछ लेना. रिलेशनशिप्स के बारे में जहाँ एम्बिग्यूटी होती है, जहाँ फैमिली की चीज़ होती है, जहाँ मेडिकल चीज़ होती है. आई मीन ऑफ कोर्स आई हैव अपलोडेड माय एक्स-रेज एंड आस्क्ड इट कि टूटा है हड्डी या नहीं. बट using it as the ultimate opinion is something I would absolutely caution people against, because God knows how these machines are thinking. Nobody knows. And if somebody claims, I would like to meet them personally. So, yeah, those are just some caution points I would add. Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's a very thoughtful idea which you shared, which probably many of us ignore or never think about कि इतना natural हो चुका है इसका usage that we're like ठीक है, but we don't know what actually is happening at the back end and what repercussions it can have in coming years. And I think Krishna Priya, you shared a lot about AI and how can someone train themselves uh, on these tools if they're new. You being a very good example of transitioning from a non-tech background to this. I would like you to share a bit about your journey of coming to a different country and then uh, making it to a tech focused role. Like, how did it primarily work out? If you can share, like, why did you decide to move from India, and what exactly led to that decision? Plus, what do you think is something that is different you find there in the work culture versus you know yeah.
Absolutely. To answer your very pointed question, it wasn't my decision, to be honest. When I was 22 or 23, it was my father's decision, and he understood that I was sensitive and a bit different than most people, and that I would benefit from having some global exposure. And ये चीज़ मैं बहुत humility से बोलना चाहती हूँ कि I've had the privilege of being outside. Many times हमारी family में या हमारी financial situation की वजह से it could be that you have a sick parent or you have family responsibilities, or चाहे पैसा ना इकट्ठा कर पाए, people are unable to cross the border. I would say after having done that कि इंसान कितनी आगे चल पाता है in life depends on how much they can travel and how much exposure they can have, right? So it's absolutely, if it is possible in your lifetime, किधर भी हो, आपके घर से 100 किलोमीटर एक बस पकड़ के आप जा सकते हो, प्लीज जाइए. The sheer amount of learning that happens and the assimilation you have and the way that it transforms you into a different human being, after this journey, I can safely say कि it's phenomenal. It's worth for every person contemplating कि to leave the comforts of your home and to go somewhere where nobody knows you. चाहे different state, different country if possible, जहाँ cultural difference भी हो, जहाँ where it's not familiar to you, language का problem हो सकता है या culture की problem हो सकती है. Please move and try to stay by yourself and understand how much we take for granted. For sure. For sure. जब तक आपको ये चीज़ नहीं होता है आपकी पास, you don't realize the value, right? घड़ी तो हमेशा होती है हाथ पे, या पानी तो हमेशा होती है हाथ में, बट you realize कि चाहिए भाई, सांस लेना है, तो when I was 22 or 23, my dad said, it's time for you to go do your masters, and he was like, okay, he gave me the freedom to pick whatever field I wanted, and I picked entrepreneurship. तो उस time पे I was talking about the app I was building. उसको देख के University of Waterloo was very impressed, and they gave me a scholarship and invited me. So I picked Canada simply because it appeared to be friendly and had a good community of tech people. I had a choice between Sweden and Canada. तो कनाडा में अच्छा सा स्कॉलरशिप भी मिल रहा था, तो आई वाज लाइक ठीक है, दोनों कोल्ड कंट्री से, बट एक कंट्री में थोड़ा बहुत कम्युनिटी है, ये है, फ्रेंडली है, तो मैंने वो चुन लिया एंड वाटरलू ऑफ कोर्स उसकी रेप्यूटेशन बहुत अच्छी थी कंपेयर टू द यूनिवर्सिटी आई हैड इन स्वीडन. तो उस टाइम पे इफ आई हैड टू डू इट अगेन आई वुड डेफिनेटली नॉट एंटर एज अ स्टूडेंट. I would enter as a permanent resident ताकि मेरी fees will be much much lower. I ended up paying 3 to 4 times. So if anyone is listening and contemplating taking a master's, I would say please try a work visa route first. Please try a permanent residency option first. Please try to visit the country before you land there and get a feel for the culture, the vibe, the thing, because you will spend your life there. So it's okay to spend $2,000 when you're going to invest $20,000, $30,000 to move. It's okay to go and check it out. Spending 10% of the money to de-risk your decision, right? Absolutely. So that was the first part. I moved in 2019. And 2020, the pandemic hit. I moved in 2019 September, and within a few months, 2020 September, 2020 March, pandemic closed down hit. So everything closed. University closed. Our course came to a halt. Life came to a halt, as you remember. In 2020 March, nobody knew what was happening. People were just passing away left, right, and center. It was a scary, scary time. घर से बाहर जाना without a mask was scary, right? And economics was crashing. There was hiring layoffs everywhere, freeze of essentials, and it was just insane time. And this was the time I graduated. So I had my money running out as a student, savings jo laye the. There were no hiring. There were no jobs anywhere. It was just, the market was unpredictable as hell. And I had 2 or 3 months to figure out whether I should stay in Canada and burn my money. कम नहीं था बॉस, 2 लाख 1 लाख पर मंथ बर्न हो जाता इवन इफ आई डिड नथिंग, सिर्फ रेंट में. और गो बैक टू इंडिया. 2-3 महीने नहीं था मेरे पास. So it was at this time I fortunately had met some very good people जो अभी तक में I'm still in touch with them. Professors जो मुझे family माना गया, उनको घर बुलाए थे even in COVID to give me food and to give me courage and strength. As I said, I had a fantastic mentor. I had a professor. And then at that time, I had a lovely person I was living with who was also a beautiful human being who was an emotional support for me. So many systems and support was sorted. I didn't have to, like scramble and be depressed and alone. I had a good system and I'm very grateful कि ये लोग मेरे साथ थे ये journey में. But that said, I put in at least 3 to 4 times more effort than my classmates. हमारा class एक 40 to 50 members थे. And everybody was older than me, except 1 or 2 young people who were native Canadians. Average age was about 40 in the class, and these were experienced professionals. ये top tier MBA था, जो entrepreneurship के लिए थे. I mentioned that because they had credentials, they had like solid resumes जो दिखा रहा था कि लो cyber security में 15 साल मैंने काम किया, 10 साल ये किया, directors ये थे. And when a recruiter looks at that resume, who is applying for an entry level, of course they will take that. They're like, confidence है boss. ये बंदा perform करेगा, ये बंदी कर लेगी. They are sure कि compare that to me, जिसके पास 2-3 साल की टुकड़े experience थे and just out of college, right? Who will you pick if you have to de-risk the candidate, right? So the odds were definitely stacked against me. So given that situation, what really supported me was एक चीज़ था, मेरे पास बहुत ही अच्छी ट्रेनिंग थी. मैंने पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट की ट्रेनिंग किया था कुछ फोरम करके, and that was extremely helpful to keep my mind balanced. The other thing was the effort that I put in was directed and it had a lot of empathy for the people that I was reaching out to. And I don't know how to teach it to somebody. वो naturally आता है कि आपको घर में सिखाते हैं या आप सीख जाते हो कि किसी का ख्याल रखें. बस में सीट, you give up your seat for somebody old or you open the door for somebody else. वो kindness जो आती है मेरे अंदर, it was taught to me बचपन से. My parents were very kind people. तो वही kindness मेरे job search में आ गया and people started noticing it. I'll give you a few examples. For instance, जब मैं applications डालती थी, I offered to work for free. मैंने पैसा नहीं मांगा. मैंने बोला मुझे बस Canadian experience चाहिए. मैं 20 घंटे पर वीक काम कर लूँगी एंड दीस आर द लिस्ट ऑफ स्किल्स आई हैव, मैं ये कर सकती। तो वन एंटरप्रेन्योर फ्रॉम यूएस टुक अ चांस ऑन मी, तो मुझे इंटर्नशिप दे दिया प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट की। तो 3 महीने मैं रोज़ 5-6 घंटे उनके लिए फ्री में काम किया। उनकी की वजह से दूसरे रेफरेंस मिला। यूएस में एक और प्रिंटिंग इंडस्ट्री का बंदा था, बहुत ही अच्छा, वो भी मेरे मेंटर भी बने थे थोड़ी देर के लिए। तीसरी जस्ट हुई। तो मेरी काम उनको अच्छी लगी एंड दे स्टार्टेड रिकमेंडिंग मी टू अदर पीपल। तो ऐसे करके विथिन 4-5 मंथ्स आई हैड 2-3 इंटर्नशिप्स फ्रॉम रेप्यूटेड पीपल और वो लोग मुझे रेफरेंस दिए थे कि हाँ, बंदी सॉलिड में काम करती है, इनपुट लेती है, फीडबैक लेती है, अच्छी काम करती है। तो ये लेके मैंने मेरे रिज्यूम बिल्ड किया एंड देन जब लोग 10, 12, 20 एप्लीकेशंस डालते थे, मैं 50, 80, 90 applications per day डालता था। My volume was more. I wasn't anywhere more talented or better than these people. In fact, they had more things than me. But मैं इतना वॉल्यूम डाल रहा था एप्लीकेशंस की, वो स्टैटिस्टिकली इम्पॉसिबल था कि मुझे ऑफर ना मिले। बस मैंने आई मस्ट हैव पुट इन क्लोज टू 600 applications per month and each of them had a letter, each of them had a reach out. मैं 8 से 10 घंटे रोज एप्लीकेशंस में काम करती थी and I would offer them something that I could, चाहे एक slide deck हो, चाहे some market research, something that I could give them value before asking कि भाई मुझे reference दे दो। I tried to give first and then ask। तो लोगों को वो शायद अच्छी लगी कि कोई तो effort डाल रहे, कुछ तो कर रहे हैं, you know। So that probably paid off and I was probably one of the first and only immigrants to receive a job in my branch। किसी को मिलने में बहुत तकलीफ हो गया था। Then I got hired into a product management role at a bank। तो उधर से मेरी जर्नी स्टार्ट।
So yeah, I think this is a very inspiration story which you have shared, because you offered to work without getting paid as well, which led to your ultimate um, you know building of your resume, and then it helped you get the opportunities. You have studied both in India and in Canada, right? So how much different of a you know I would say exposure or experience do you find in the education system of both, or the approaches are like how different they are?
जी, आपने वर्क कल्चर के बारे में भी पूछा था इन द प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन। आई जस्ट टाई दिस इनटू दिस एज वेल। तो ज़मीन आसमान की फ़र्क है। जो I didn't go to a bad college in my undergraduate. I went to one of the best private engineering colleges। उधर भी जिधर एक हमारी I hate to say this on record, but it is very true. We still behave like we are being ruled by the British। मैं क्यों ये चीज़ बोलती हूँ कि वो colonial mentality है जहाँ पे हम थोड़ा we have become slaves and we have stopped questioning। The system punishes you for being curious, for being going above and beyond। There is this thing to conform to a particular, whether it is in society, you know, if you see a guy wearing a skirt, लोग हंसेंगे उसके ऊपर। Once upon a time in France, men used to wear heels and it was considered fashion। Once upon a time, a woman was not wearing a shirt, but बहुत लोग पहन के अभी it is normal for us, right? तो when somebody does something outside the norm in India, उनके ऊपर हंसी आ जाती है, उनके ऊपर रिडिक्यूल आ जाती है। यूजुअली, आई एम नॉट सेइंग ऑल द टाइम, बट वो कल्चरल एस्पेक्ट है कि इंडिया में वो चीज़ होती है। सो आई कैन गिव यू स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल्स। माय कॉलेज वाज ब्रिलियंट, अच्छी थी, प्रोफेसर्स की ग्रेड बहुत सही थी। जब भी मैंने कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछनी थी, डाउट क्लियर करनी थी, दे वर ऑलवेज देयर। आई मेट सम ऑफ द बेस्ट पीपल देयर। बट आई एज अ पर्सन was sensitive, eccentric, and different also. And that difference was not tolerated at all। So a random example of this is something like, मैंने एक बार क्लॉग्स, पता है आपको जो होल होल वाली चप्पल होता है, मैंने एक बार एक क्लॉग्स खरीदा था क्योंकि मेरा टो इंजोर हो गया था बस। तो आई कुडेंट वेयर द नॉर्मल शू जिस टो को कंप्रेस करती है, तो मैंने वो पहन के कॉलेज गई थी। एंड फॉर वॉट एवर रीजन my mother got a phone call and I got a panicky phone call from my mother at afternoon। My mother stays in the village, right? I stay in the city। 200 किलोमीटर रहती है बेचारी. She called me up in a panic and said, हटाओ, clogs हटाओ पहले. Go wear your shoes. तुझे कैसे पता मैं आज clogs पहन के कॉलेज आई? Your professor called me and said that the fact that you're wearing blue clogs and you're sitting in the front of the bench is bothering him and he can't teach. And you need to go change. If you don't do it, he won't give you attendance for the entire semester and he'll fail you.
Okay.
I couldn't believe my ears, but it actually happened. कि मुझे जाके hostel जाके I had to change my shoes and come back and sit inside. Otherwise, I was not allowed to be in the class. These were the sort of unbelievable, surprising, weird things that distract you from your goal in India, right? And there is also that hierarchy कि वो professor है, मैं थोड़ा I treat him like a guru and I treat him like or a her. There is that thing कि professor है, वो very few people are able to be, friends with the students. We did have professors like that, तो बहुत chill थे, जिसके साथ आप खाना खाने चलते थे, मस्ती करने चलते थे. IITs में वो सब देखे तो the professors are extremely cool. You can address them by first name and it's fine. But there is also this aspect कि, people expect a certain level of respect and a certain level of... This is the cultural aspect. Coming to the educational aspect, we were expected to just rote memorize things and write it. मैं shamelessly admit करता हूँ कि I remember very little from my undergraduate degree. It was with very little experimental understanding. A lot of copying happened also. Unethical copying in exams happened. I was very righteous at that point, तो मैं नहीं लिखती थी and my numbers would always be low. But people would shamelessly copy in examinations, have no personal ethic about it. And most of the things, whether it is a mathematical theory that you have learned, Green's theorem हो सकती है, spherical coordinates हो सकती है, you had no idea what the practical application was and it was spoon-fed to you. Things have changed a lot now. I understand that people go to YouTube, ChatGPT and buy their own volition, but it's not demanded by the system so much. There is no open book exams, for instance, in many of the universities. There is no demand for you to use your creativity and learn by yourself. जो है वो है. And it's very suffocating and damaging. But contrast this to when I came to Canada. Many professors were some of the best in the world. Their age was 85, 87, and they were more active than me. Like, one of my accounting professors was 87 and he was the squash champion. जितने अलर्ट थे, जितने एक्टिव थे, उनको देख के हम इंस्पायर हो जाते कि होली लॉर्ड, जब मैं बड़ी होती हूँ, आई वांट टू बी लाइक दिस. उनकी इंटेग्रिटी बहुत हाई था. And they were the experts in their field, top most. सालों से सिखाते थे. And they had the humility to listen to everybody. आप जो भी प्रश्न पूछ सकते हो, कुछ भी पहन सकते हो क्लास में, सो सकते हो, खाना खा सकते हो, म्यूजिक सुन सकते हो क्लास में. डोंट बी डिसरेप्टिव और डिसरेस्पेक्टफुल, बट आप हेडफोन्स लगा के सो सकते हो क्लास में. दे वुड नेवर बॉदर यू. ये फ्रीडम मुझे नया लगा एंड माय ब्रेन वाज लाइक, ये क्या है? बचपन लग रहा है कि मैं कुछ भी कर सकती हूँ, किंडरगार्टन में कुछ भी कर सकती हूँ ना, सो सकते हो, उठ सकते हो. ऐसे लग रहा था कि कोई मुझे फोर्स नहीं कर रहे इधर रहने का, करने का, कुछ भी नहीं था. एग्जाम्स भी बहुत अलग थे, ओपन बुक थे. यू कुड ब्रिंग योर टेक्स्ट बुक. द क्वेश्चंस वुड बी सो चैलेंजिंग कि आपको कॉन्सेप्ट समझना पड़ता था. यू हैव टू कैलकुलेट, यू हैव टू मेक इट. फर्स्ट 2 एग्जाम्स आई एक्चुअली फेल्ड एंड आई वाज लाइक, ये क्या हो रहा है? आई डोंट नो व्हाट्स हैपनिंग. And then later, when I understood the system, talked to the professors, and then they said, you can write your own answers. You don't have to write what we expect you to write. You can be creative. So numbers or essays बहुत अच्छे आने लगे because I started to write what my experience was. It was life-altering for me to have that experience, to understand that टीचर के साथ आप खाना खाने चल सकते हो, मूवी के लिए चल सकते हो, उनके साथ गप्पे मार सकते हो, उसकी ऑफिस जाके बैठ के बुक्स पढ़ सकते हो, वो आपकी दोस्त बन जाते हैं. एंड दे डोंट एक्सपेक्ट यू टू कॉल देम सर, मैडम. हम नाम से बुलाते थे. सारे प्रोफेसर्स जो 80+ थे उनको भी नाम से बुलाते थे.
Right.
तो दैट वाज अ ह्यूज शिफ्ट फॉर मी.
So I think, well, the main idea which is coming out from what you shared is the flexibility and the ability to adapt. I would say different personalities probably अगर थोड़ा सा भी कोई different होता है, then that person treated or made fun of and said being acceptable to these different types of personalities. Do you think this leads to a difference in the outcome as well? Is the learning better in that situation which you described, or is it like restrictions or parameters or blueprint in which certain things are to be done? तो होना ही चाहिए. So what seems better in terms of output as a student if we compare both these?
मैं आपने बहुत ही यूजफुल क्वेश्चन पूछा. स्ट्रक्चर दोनों इंडस्ट्रीज में है. इंडिया में भी है, कनाडा में भी है. बोथ इंडस्ट्रीज हैव एग्जाम्स, दे हैव पैरामीटर्स. एंड हियर इन कनाडा इफ यू आर कॉट चीटिंग, आपको सीधी सादी एक्सपेल कर देती है. देयर इज इट्स टेकन एक्सट्रीमली सीरियसली. प्लेगरिज्म और एनीथिंग लाइक दैट, आपने गूगल से कुछ कॉपी पेस्ट किया, सीधा डीन के पास चले जाते हो एंड आउट. दे डोंट केयर, एक्सपेल कर देते हैं. तो वो ऑनेस्टी, इंटेग्रिटी सिस्टम्स इधर भी है. इट्स नॉट लाइक कि फ्री खुला खुला छोड़ देते हैं. बट दैट सेड, आप बताइए, जब एक बच्चा जो भी है, जो बहुत ही एंथुजियाज्म और क्यूरियोसिटी और पैशन से आते हैं टू लर्न समथिंग, if you are scared and afraid of being yourselves, if you don't feel encouraged and supported, do you feel comfortable in that learning environment? Or if you are forever made to follow certain rules that are rigid, that make no sense, and reward people who break the rules. जो लोग कॉपी करके उनको अच्छा मार्क्स आते हैं, they are breaking the rule. You are not supposed to copy, but they are getting rewarded, right? System is rewarding them by giving them marks. And then you even filter people for jobs कि अच्छा CGPA कट ऑफ होती है कि अब की CGPA इतना नहीं है तो आ जा. So which student is likely आप ही बताइए, which student is likely to enjoy the learning experience and to assimilate more? Option A or option B? Yeah,
Definitely, the guy who is not following any ethics is definitely going to be having more advantage over the other kids who are, doing their work with dedication by following all the rules. Ultimately, it turns out to be कि इतना सब follow करके output क्या मिला.
That's the point, right? If you are intrinsically, mentally, emotionally, physically not comfortable in an environment, how will you focus on learning? How will you focus on very few people I think look at a textbook and go, "Oh, yaar, aaj kya seekhungi main? Wow." No, it takes some effort to look at a subject, let go of all the other distractions and actually focus on learning, initially at least, until you develop a love for that subject. So ensuring that the other things are taken care of, the emotional life of a student, the physical life, the personality, the character, the environment itself asks for some integrity out of you. That student obviously will prosper more, right? Like, they obviously, even professionally, they will be good professionals. A student who cheated when they were a student to take the easy shortcut, do you think they will not hesitate to take the shortcut when they are a professional? Will they do things the easy way, not the right way? हो सकता है. The tendency will continue. You have developed a habit of taking shortcuts, of doing things not ethically, and that will carry over to your professional life for sure.
So, and that will lead to, I think, a difference in the outcome you are able to give as a professional as well, in comparison to somebody who has been doing their work with dedication.
100%. 100%.
So, Krishna Priya, I think this was a very, I think, pragmatic insight that you shared. The reason being, there are a lot of things we as a country need to work on collectively to, get to that level where we can also have innovative ideas or culture of having that, at least being acceptable and open to new things, which is, I believe, to an extent, is getting changed as well. But yeah, it will take time. And I think it has been very nice speaking with you, Krishna Priya. Towards the end, I would like to ask you, anybody who is, aspiring to be a professional in the tech domain, having a non-tech background, or whether it is the other way around, non-tech guy entering into tech or tech guy entering into non-tech, how would you suggest somebody who is planning for such a transition? Or sometimes what happens is, let's say, if I'm a finance background person, I want to build an app, for example. I'm usually like afraid of codes and all that because they go over my head. I'm not able to understand anything. And similarly, it happens with anybody who is from a non-finance background. उनको लगता है finance के terms and all that are like too heavy, and they're not able to, at least get a basic understanding of how these things work out. So I would like to ask you, since you've been through this journey, how can somebody who is from a, let's say, different background learn about any other field, given that we have so many resources today? How can that happen, like and that too with a very, I would say, pinpointed effort, so that they don't get up overwhelmed with a lot of information? क्योंकि अगर हम गूगल करते हैं कि let's say I want to build an app, how to build an app, there will be a lot of options. I won't know how to select the best one, because of which fear comes out, and then I'm not going to be moving ahead in this. So what would you suggest to somebody who is trying to learn about a different domain or a different field? How can they proceed that? Along with this, I would like to ask another question, which is, what are the most relevant skills do you think today anybody who is willing to become a successful professional should have?
हमने जो भी दो questions you have asked is, I mean, again, $1,000,000 questions. I'll do my best to share my experience, right? एक चीज है कि when you are in unfamiliar territory, it's good to have a compass. वही बोलते हैं ना. तो whenever, whatever profession you are, or whatever thing, if you look at my resume, any recruiter will tell you कि यार बंदी तो job hop किया है. I have hopped in so many different industry. मेरी कोई industry में depth नहीं है. I've been like tech में हूँ, social tech में हूँ, इसमें हूँ, agriculture में हूँ, इसमें हूँ, everywhere. So each time I was confronted with a new domain जिसके बारे में मुझे कुछ नहीं पता था. Like accounting, मुझे balance sheet भी नहीं पता था. Like holy lord. जब वो होता है, the first thing that I've personally done that has worked for me is to get a mentor. हमेशा mentor एक guiding light होता है who will give you an initial path to take. कि at least they are able to filter. It is up to you how you use your mentor. मैं usually when I get a mentor, I use them to filter my choices. जैसे कि आपने बताया ना, when you go to Google and say I want to build an app, 1000 results आते हैं, कौन सा चुनूं मैं? तो the first thing I would do is to make myself crystal clear. मेरी problem क्या है? मैं क्या सीखना चाहती हूँ? And what does success looks like for me? Maybe for you, success is having a fully working prototype app that gives you the output you want. But for me, maybe success is different. So success criteria, मेरी problem क्या है? वो crystal clear होनी चाहिए before you go to your mentor. वरना दोनों को time waste हो जाती है. So when you go to your mentor, I usually ask them, this is the problem I have. I want to solve it. Tell me, in using your expertise, what are the tools and approaches I should take to solve it? तो वो मुझे बताएंगे कि अच्छा तू लवेबल कर ले, तू बोल्ट यूज कर ले ऐप के लिए, ये कर ले, वो कर ले. They'll give me a path. And then I ask them, what are the skill sets that I lack right now, जिसमें मेरी missing है? So they'll tell me that. So I do this enough number of times until I have a preliminary grasp or hold of that domain कि अच्छा, I can breathe. And the test for me to understand that is, when a subject matter expert is talking, मुझे 40-50% समझ में आता है. I can follow कि अच्छा ये reconcile नहीं हो रहा है, ये हो नहीं हो रहा है. I'm like, oh क्या? What does reconcile mean? What does net mean? The term should not feel unfamiliar to me. So when I start being able to be with experts, right? That is my sign कि हाँ, I'm starting to get some expertise in this. So the second thing that I would say is, once I have the preliminary path, I've developed some sort of expertise in it, and I'm going there. The second part of your question was, can you remind me the second part? Sorry, I just got distracted.
The second one was, in case you are a professional or you want to become a successful professional, you want to upgrade yourself, what skills do you think anybody who is willing
Right, multiple skill. Yeah. Right. And you can look at it any way, right? There is something called a meta skill, right? You can have skills like, for example, artist. whether you're a sculptor, painter, whatever you are, there is a meta skill where they're able to visualize the art first, see it for its entirety, and then bring it out, whether it's a painting, whether it's a sculpture, whether it is whatever. जिन skills की skill होता है उसको हम meta skills बोल सकते हैं. In my opinion, you might learn to program, you might learn to do statistics, public speaking, whatever the skill is. There is a primary skill for that. That meta skill today, in my opinion, is critical thinking. To be able to critical thinking, a loose definition I would ask is the ability to ask the right questions, I would say, for any subject, right? Because the quality of output you can extract from any person is the quality of your input ultimately. And that input has to come from you internally. So no matter what you're trying to learn, the quality of your input is proportional to the quality of your output. Garbage in is garbage out. So if you can learn how to ask the right questions, that is the most valuable skill you can possibly do.
I think that's a very good point to start from, because often what happens is we embark on a journey without knowing what the ultimate destination is. But, just out of curiosity or so, we sometimes make decisions that we regret later.
Right. Entirely possible, and that's life.
Yeah. And I think, it has been a very, insightful conversation with you, Krishna Priya, especially you touching on various aspects, which often there is not a lot of awareness about, especially in the AI part and what's going on in the job domain. How can one, upgrade themselves, and most importantly, you talked about how to be successful at your profession, the role of mentors in one's life, and how can you find. So it was nice speaking to you, Krishna Priya. You definitely shared a lot of insights that would be very, very useful and applicable for anybody who is, looking forward to becoming a successful professional or upgrade themselves. Thank you so much for, taking out time and sharing your insights.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. I'll just end with one line that if you're unable to find any mentor or you're in a pinch, anybody is happy and open to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just add a note. I'll do my best to support you to find people or anything else like that. I may not know all the answers, but I'll connect you to the people that I know may have the answers. So all the best to everybody trying to break into tech. It's possible.
That's so nice of you. Thank you so much, Krishna Priya. So anybody, any listener or any viewer who would like to, get in touch with Krishna Priya, they can definitely via LinkedIn. So I would again like to thank Krishna Priya for taking out time and sharing your insights without any filters, which is the theme of our episode, our program, basically Zero Filter. So thank you so much for coming up with so raw answers that would be useful, and looking forward to having more such conversations with you. Thank you so much, Krishna Priya.
Absolutely. Thanks, Vince. Bye-bye.